welcome to the Pitch of Discontent. Owen back again for another guest episode. First one in the new studio space, so still working out the kinks there, but forgive me. I have the boys from Melting in the stew.
What's up?
What's going on?
Hey.
How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Good. Well,
Doing great.
You were so lively before, now you're so like softly spoken.
No, doing good.
We're doing well.
You already asked us that question.
This is true. This is true. We were having a little bit of chit chat before I hit record, but you guys have been busy. You have a new EP coming out, which we will get into all across the episode. Before we get too much into the weeds, I feel like we should do introductions so that people watching this might not be familiar with you guys and the band kind of know what's up. So can we do some introductions? Can you introduce yourselves?
Yeah. I'm Alex. I play guitar in Melting.
I'm Johnny. I play drums in Melting.
Beautiful. What's the vibe in the band like with a release looming and touring prospects on the way? Like, you guys are going to have a busy couple of months.
Yeah, it's all steam ahead at the moment. Like we're kind of just, we can see it all happening, and like we got so much things that we need to prepare for, and playing shows, and it's all at the forefront at the moment. So.
Are you guys like old hat veteran at this sort of stuff? Like, have you guys been in touring bands before? Is this new for you guys?
I've done interstate shows and stuff like that.
Okay.
Never like international, but with my old bands and stuff. I've been around a bit.
This is all new for me.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like my first time experiencing touring, and
was it a little bit nerve wracking, kind of just ripping the Band-Aid off?
It was very, very nerve wracking. I was I was kind of shitting my pants a little bit, playing with like cool bands and playing to a lot more people, and I didn't want to mess up, and there was a lot of that pressure going on, but like once I got up there, and it was all just natural.
But you've done shows before.
I've done shows before.
Shitloads of shows.
Yeah, done a lot of shows with like other bands and stuff.
I get it though. Like when the expectation is a little bit higher, when there's kind of more on the line, the stakes are more intense. Like it's not just a show; it's like a more intense kind of show. Yeah. So I can totally get that. I've never played in bands, so I don't know. But I'm just putting myself into your shoes.
Definitely like a feeling, especially in that Thorny tour, of like, oh, this feels real. Like this feels like we're doing
real shit,
doing actual band shit. Like prior to that, dude, I remember being surprised at how nervous you were, because I was like, you were just like, I'm fucking shitting myself. And I was like, bro, when we first started, because Johnny played in other bands as well. Yeah. He was doing like 3 shows a week with other bands, and then he's just like, I'm shitting myself. And I'm like, what do you mean? He plays shows all the time.
I feel like a certain amount of nerves is kind of good to kind of like have that adrenaline, right? Because like that allows you to kind of like put things into focus. And if you know how to handle it, I feel like you're fine. Yeah. Like if you kind of get too caught up in the cycle, like you might kind of wig yourself out and like step on your own feet and kind of like fuck things up. But I think a little bit of nerves as a treat is fine.
Yeah. I feel like I need those nerves, because if they're not there, then I feel like I'm off. You know, I need those little nerves and the adrenaline pumping, and it just keeps me in the zone. So
totally.
It's like if you got nerves, it means you give a shit. I reckon.
Exactly. No, I think that's well said. I think that really does add something to the experience, and like if you give a shit, then the people in the crowd are going to give a shit. You know what I mean?
Sure. That's it. It's like, it's not just another day. It's not just like another show when you're playing bigger shows in front of bigger crowds. And if you treat it like it's a bigger show, it's because you can and you want to do well, or you just got like, there's so many different factors as well that I don't know, I've never had to deal with when you're playing those kinds of shows, like the damn rigs. Like normally prior to this, we were just like, I played in like just basic bands that use like, we use a digital modeling thing for the guitars, but that was it. It was pretty simple. Now running everything with like these click tracks and the in-ears, and just being like, is everything working? Is everything working? Is everything working? Does the laptop work? Does it? That is the scariest thing.
This whole enterprise of podcasting,
yeah, exactly.
I get it. I have to like triple check everything to be like, okay, when I hit record, does shit actually work?
Yeah.
And then like, I can't really check stuff halfway through because I'm doing the thing. I imagine playing music is the kind of thing. It's like, well, I'm playing. Can anyone hear me? Does it sound good?
Yeah.
It's like just that that fear at the back of your head that like the laptop is just going to stop. It's like the fifth member of the band, and I mean, now it's reliable. We got
it's much more reliable now.
The first few shows that we played were like, sometimes we would rehearse and the laptop would just stop, and it didn't give us a reason why. It would just be like, no. And it's like, what if that happens on stage? And like, it didn't. Thank God. Thank God. Touch wood, it never happens. But that going into the Thornhill shows was the biggest fear for me. I was like, I'm not worried about crowds. I don't care about that. Like, I'm welcome that. I just want that laptop to work.
The production element is a real concern. And like when you're doing these bigger shows and when you're kind of leveling up all of the different pieces, like you want everything to go off perfectly. And to have that one important component just like randomly shit itself would be awful. I guess I want to start off with you, Alex, because kind of reading into the history of the band, I saw you labeled as the creative visionary behind Melting. So like, is this your baby? Did it start off as your kind of project?
For sure.
So I guess let's kind of go back to the initial inception of Melting and kind of walk us through when you kind of tapped Johnny to join in. Like, let's kind of do that. So you previously played in a band called Earthender? Is that correct?
I did, with Lockie from Alpha Wolf and Billy from Melancholia.
Yes. So I didn't have the opportunity to catch Earthender, but like when did that stop and when did the idea for Melting begin? And is there some overlap there?
There's definitely no overlap. It was cut and dry.
Okay.
Earthender finished 2015, I think.
Oh wow.
We dropped a second EP and then we said, here it is, that's it. And we just quit the day we dropped the record. And like we knew like the Alpha Wolf crew were looking at Lockie and stuff like that. And like Lockie was hanging with them a lot. And it was like, then, you know, he was part of that crew and everything. And we're still like, you know, best buddies and everything like that. But
friend of the show.
Yeah, that's
cool guy.
Yeah, he's a legend. So we, you know, it was like, all right, you're going to go off and do that. Plus the Earthender crew were like, it was hard to just get everything moving. Like there was, you know, it was obviously finances and stuff, especially when we were younger. Like it was really, really tricky. So we just cut that off. Went and did a couple of like other like surfy punk bands and stuff. Just like the soundtrack of somebody's downfall, I guess you would call it. It was just like a time where I was like, I don't care about heavy music anymore for a bit. Just want to make destructive music and whatever. So that was fun. And then maybe COVID. It was COVID for sure. Got a new laptop, stole a whole bunch of like, shouldn't say that. And just started writing riffs, and they started in like way higher tuning, and was playing like that, and just writing riffs and riffs and riffs, and you know, Into the Suffer was written, like the riff for that was written in like 2019.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a long time ago, and then it just kind of sat there, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, and slowly over time it became a thing where I was like demoing more and more and more, and I was showing Tom, who was like, me and Tom played in all those like surf bands together. And
Tom plays bass, right?
Plays bass, yeah. Okay. And him and I are just like best buddies. So I was showing him everything. And then I had no intentions of having Tom in the band actually at the time. It was just like,
sorry, Tom.
Brutal. I felt really bad about that. But like just started going through any vocalists that I might have known, drummers that I knew, like anyone that could do an instrument, and just seeing what would fit.
Did you have any songs at this kind of early stage, or just like riffs and ideas?
No, I had songs.
Okay,
cool.
So
I would write stuff and demo it out and present stuff. Like sorry. I had Into the Suffer, but it was not anything like it is now. It was like a whole different
just
song.
like a skeleton of the idea, right?
Yeah, and it was like a riff salad with like 10 different riffs in it and stuff like that. And you know, I was showing like crew from bands that were doing stuff still at times, so like Pride Lands and stuff like that, that I knew from back in Earth End, and they were like, "You're onto something here. Pursue this." It's like, okay, cool. And then it was just finding the members over time. Marcus from Four he helped me find Xavier. So I found Xavier before I found Johnny.
Okay.
And Tom was sort of in the background. He was getting his chops up and getting better and better and better. Right. And I was like, all right, yeah, you're the guy for sure.
He's waiting in the wings. He's like, I'm here, Alex.
He was ready. So put me in, coach.
To take me off the bench. I'm ready.
Yeah. And then, like, how did we go? We had another drummer who was the drummer from Earthender as well.
Okay.
And that's Rick, and he absolutely rips. Really, really good drummer. But it just wasn't working like financially, and like our direction for what we wanted to do with the band was different. I think he was more like, I just want to play music with my mates, and I was like, we want to tour and do a bit more stuff. So sort of then started looking for other drummers and found Johnny by just going like drums Melbourne on Instagram. And then you get like most drummers, I don't know why, it's a drummer thing, will put like their name and then drums at the end. And I was like, sick, if somebody geotags it, like, and then I came across a video of Johnny playing, and he was like beating the shit out of his drums, and you like was playing in a rock band at the time, and I was like, this guy should not be playing rock. It's like, you know, like Donkey Kong, like. And I hit him up, and I was like, hey, do you like heavy music? And I think he says like, you're like, yeah, I like Knock Loose. And I was like, do you want to play drums in my band?
Yeah. Do you remember that interaction, Joe?
Yeah, I do. I remember every bit of it. Yeah.
So what was your kind of vibe? Like, you're playing in bands, maybe not heavy bands, but did you kind of have this desire to beat the shit out of something a little bit more intense?
I played in a lot of punk bands.
Okay.
Like just discovering drums and playing music, like punk bands is like my thing.
Okay.
Listen to a lot of punk music and a lot of rock, heavy rock. Listened to a lot of like metal in high school, and like I thought, oh damn, I really want to play that. But like the people who were around me were like kind of like into wanting to start a punk band and you know, just play, you know, just normal general rock, pub rock sort of stuff, which I was cool to do. Like I just wanted to play music, so that was just kind of my thing.
Very natural to kind of just fall into that, right?
Yeah, and I feel like it was good for me to like just learn to be in a band and just like, you know, and I think from there, like I kind of just got better over time. I practiced for hours on end, and you know, I'd listen to a lot of music and tried to learn different songs, and you know, eventually I just got my chops up, and I could just play anything, not everything, but like most things, I guess, but really badly. So yeah, that's kind of like how I've sort of come to where I am now.
Okay. So then I guess while you're building the, you know, the Avengers for this particular project that you're trying to like put together, what was the first practice like? Where you get all the guys in a room,
like the current lineup.
Yeah,
dude. So we got everyone together at Pony, wasn't it?
Yeah, Pony
Naarm.
Music.
And we all got there, and it was like, all right, we're not going to prac until everybody knows how to play the songs. Like we got the internet now. You can share tabs, you can learn songs, and then just get together once we all know everything. And we got there, and day one, ground zero, rig didn't work. For like 8 hours, we played no songs, and it was like the first prac with Johnny, because Xavier and I had already been demoing songs out. Tom and I just hang out all the time, so he already knew all the songs.
Yeah,
it was like this was like the let's bring Johnny in and let's see how this goes, and we got nothing done. Nothing.
I think we played like Modern Humans, and then I think that was it.
I think that was it. Yeah, and the click was like coming through the PA and shit. It was really, really bad. Yeah, and we left, and I just remember going like, he's gone. He's gone for sure. And then you sent a message,
chance and we fucked it.
Yeah, he sent a message in the group chat and was just like, "We'll get him next time, boys." And I was like, "He's staying? That's crazy." And then every prac from there, it was like, "All right, let's make sure all of the screws are tight and like, you know, we're at a point that it feels good." And before we get into a rehearsal space, and then we did, and it was just like bang, 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 bang.
I would imagine, and again, like I haven't played in bands, so I'm not speaking from experience here, just kind of like a hypothetical, but I would imagine the first kind of like practice and real kind of meetup is more like a vibe check than anything.
For sure.
It's like, can I be around this person in a room for like multiple hours and not want to fucking kill them?
Yeah.
So it's like a stress test. And then like the music stuff comes later because it is just like feeling each other's like playing styles and kind of doing all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, I feel like the social element is like kind of key in that initial interaction. It's like, do we gel, or do I just like hate this person on site?
I feel like we had like it was a bit of a different thing, I reckon, for melting. It felt more like, for lack of a better term, like sort of like work, I guess, in a way. It was like, yeah, I'm sure we all gel. Everybody here is good at their instrument. Everybody's good. But this thing cohesively, like we can see that it's going to work. You got a really like heavy hitting drummer, a really good vocalist, and then like, you know, string section that's super tight. There's good chemistry between me and Tom and everything. It's like, this will work. Let's make it work. And once you start seeing the fruits of your labor, it all kind of tidies in. But we all just got along. Like, if there was an immediate knee-jerk response to somebody being a dickhead, it would have been like, nah. But everyone was like cordially good. And it was like, everybody's kind of nervous. Like, Xavier had never played in a band before or anything like that. So it was kind of, everyone was a bit, you know,
feeling each other out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
To be expected, I would imagine.
Exactly.
But I can kind of relate to your point that like, if you've got all of those pieces there, you got good quality material, and you know that everyone can kind of work with it, then it just becomes like a matter of craftsmanship.
That's
right. You just got to like work on the tools for a bit and kind of see what happens.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's good because like everyone wanted to be there. And like
that's an important thing.
Everyone wanted to play music, and you know, everyone was like 100% dedicated, and that's like so hard to find these days. Like, especially for me
with band shit, like people are flaky as hell. So
like, that was the 3-year fucking thing for me. Was like, absolutely everybody here has to be 100% down.
Yeah,
that was what it was from the get go. And then when I found everyone like that, it was like, all right, now we can just push this thing hard and see what happens. And hopefully we make the right moves. And it seems like we kind of are.
Owen popping in to say, please sign up for the TPD Patreon. This is what helps us keep the lights on and keep the show going. The link is at the bottom of your screen right now, patreon.com/TPDpod. All of our patrons get exclusive access to Side B of our roundup episodes, so you get a few extra tracks, as well as our feature album discussion and the full show experience. Our patrons also get exclusive access to behind-the-scenes, off-the-cuff chit-chat from all of our guest episodes. But the patrons are the ones who make all of this happen. For as little as $5 a month, you can sign up to the TPD Patreon, and it really helps us out, really helps us keep the show going. So shout out to all of our patrons, shout out to our executive producer patrons, you're the real ones, and thank you so much for watching the show.
I wanted to quickly focus on the name, because from reading a Wall of Sound piece, you're originally going to call it The Witch, because you're really into Robert Eggers, film stuff and pagan rituals and all sorts of stuff. And there's bits of that going on in the EP, which we will talk about. But like, I guess, why didn't The Witch stick?
We looked it up on Spotify and we were like, I don't think there's any bands called The Witch. And then we found out that like, when there's so many bands with the one name, it doesn't give you like the top one. You just kind of have to press see all, and then it shows you like 200 bands called The Witch. And I was like, oh, that's out.
Yeah, from an SEO perspective, not good.
Yeah, terrible. And then it was like, you know, if anything ever did happen, like you're literally competing with the movie and just the word, like, like witch, like The Witch is such a crazy thing to Google.
And people
as a
get weirdly
local
litigious about that stuff. They'll try and like come after you and be like, we had the name first, or
for
we
sure.
have the name in this like region or domain. So like, you don't want to deal with that bullshit.
Well, we went with the main reason behind Melting's name. I think I said in another pod that it was a Morbid Angel song, which it is.
Okay,
but it's
sick.
like, and I like Morbid Angel, but it's not even like a real Morbid Angel song. It's kind of an interlude, but I do like it. But mainly the name came from, which, well, sort of, I would say I wanted something that was just like really androgynous, for lack of a better word, something that was like, that band could be a hip hop artist, that band could be a rock band, that band could be a death metal band. It could literally fit anything.
Yeah, it doesn't really tell you about the sound
That's
at all.
right. It's just a cool word. And it's also like, you know, it's not like Malter or like, it's like, yeah, I don't know. Something about the name just kind of stuck for me. I liked it. And I pitched it to the other guys and they all knew that I wanted something that was, you know, fairly, I don't know what the word is, just like non-pigeonholed in terms of like.
I think knowing a little bit about the band, and I'm sure we'll kind of get into these details a little bit more, but like, I think that kind of universality speaks to kind of what the band is about and kind of like the sound of the material. Cause like having heard the new EP, it's fantastic. There's not one genre or sound that you're working in. And like, it's just heavy, for a lack of a better term. Like heavy, aggressive music. And it's pulling from a bunch of different places. So I think like melting them all down into something, perhaps.
I think that sums it up a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's a lot of different styles like in the music that we've got. Like it's especially for the drum side of things, like there's a lot of like groovy sort of elements.
Absolutely.
Which is what I love. It's, you know, I feel like there's a lot going on in like one song, which is cool. I love it. So
it bounces around a lot for sure.
All right, so let's talk about the first recorded material. So you put out, I guess, like a 2-track single as kind of like the debut kind of like recorded music.
Yeah, we exist, here we are.
So you had like Modern Human Ritual came out in June last year, and then Complex follows up in July. So kind of like back to back.
Back to back. Yeah.
So I guess like talk to me about those 2 songs as kind of like the first offering from the band and the process for pulling all of that stuff together.
So those 2 tracks were written pretty much to like the full extent of their production before I had even met Johnny or Xavier.
Okay.
Actually, they were completely recorded with CV before we even met Johnny. Like,
wow,
it was a whole different. We just wanted songs, and kind of like what you were saying before, like it's this like aggressive, heavy, non-pigeonholed style of music. We wanted to just go for something that was like, doesn't matter if it doesn't have breakdowns in it. Doesn't matter if it's like, we just want to write good songs, you know? And so that's how they sort of came about. And then they were just like the 2 that me and Xavier were kind of like, this will probably do. Like these 2 are probably like the most finished out of what we've got.
The most polished out of the pile of stuff that we've got.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like you said, Into the Suffer was something going all the way back to 2019. So at this point, like, not quite ready yet.
Yeah, it was just sitting there as like a collection of riffs. And it was the first thing that I showed anybody ever. But it was also like, this isn't there yet. Whereas especially Modern Human Ritual had like a chorus, it had a verse, and it was like, there was a structure to it that you could grab onto and be like, all right, I know what's actually happening in this song. I can.
In terms of songwriting then, like what is it about your own process and maybe working with the guys in the band that gets you to a point where you go, this is done, like this is ready?
It's really interesting, I think, because the most recent material we've written, so not the EP, but like the stuff that we're just mucking around with now.
Spoilers, new stuff incoming.
Is that's been a lot more collaborative. That's been a lot more like, I'll write a guitar part and then send it to everybody, get everybody's like little tick of approval on it, and then write the most basic drums so that I can send it to Johnny and he can start planning that out. Send it to Xavier so that he can start planning that out. Me and Tom will just work on string sections together.
Yeah.
But on the EP, I think a lot of it was just like, I was just coming at it with like, here are some songs. What do you guys think? And everybody, I think, was just really excited about the fact that we were in a band. And it was like, in a weird way, it was kind of like, not yes manning, but in a way, it was sort of like, yeah, these are sick. But I think that they kind of were, like they were good. And we were writing them in batches of 2. That was the thing. Like, I think Unwavered 874 was one batch of 2.
Yep.
Perhaps This Is Hell and Guided was another batch of 2.
Yep.
And then Oblivion and Oblivion was written very, very last, like a week before we decided it was
that was the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then Into the Suffer was way early, but like everything else was written in batches of 2, and it was kind of like we'd tuck into a vibe, make some music like that, and then pull out of that vibe and then tuck into something else and be like, oh, let's make songs that sound like this now. And by that, you kind of get a bit more of a broader spectrum on the release.
Yeah. So then you guys go and record with Christopher Vernon.
Yes.
So how does that relationship come about, and what was that like for you guys to record all of that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
And you said like that was recorded before Johnny was in the band?
Yeah. So yeah.
Sorry, Johnny.
It was good because we were able to give them to Johnny and be like, here, look, this band is doing actual, we're not just going to do like crappy demos for a while or whatever. Like, we've got music, please join. But I knew CV from like way back, you know, and he was doing Bellhaven and stuff like that. And
friends of the show.
Yeah.
He's been around for a very long time.
Yes. And it was just one of those relationships where it was like, I knew him, I tried to tap a few other guys and just fell onto CV actually because he did the Uncanny Valley, the Deadlights record, and I was
Great
like,
record. Friends of the
best.
Not friends of the show, but just friends of mine.
Oh, true. Yeah, nice.
Good boys.
They're all great guys. That is the best recorded album in Australian heavy music history, I reckon.
It's such a crazy record, and also like that band is like so underrated, I think.
Yeah.
And we could just pivot into a Deadlights like
100%.
appreciation episode, but like there isn't a single band in this country or even internationally that sounds like them.
Yeah.
And I think like just a really idiosyncratic band and like world-class vocalists that sound super unique and just have like a crazy kind of rapport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every element
of
their music is just like incredibly well put together. And we were like, oh, well, CV must have something to do with that.
Yep.
Let's hit him up. We did. And I sent him the demos, and he was like, he's such a G. He was like, he's like, you don't need to come here to record your guitars and vocals. He's like, you know what you're doing. You're like, this is fine. And we're like, let's just do it. Let's just all get into a room together and we'll just smash it out together. And that way you can pull us up on whatever. And yeah, that was the story with that. It was a pretty cut and dry, like, hey, what's up? Let's record. Bang, bang, bang. But I just knew CV from back in the day, and it was a good introduction for Xavier into a studio environment as well, because he'd never been in one, and just sort of see what the actual go is and stuff like that.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah.
So you record the songs, then you put them out. What was the, I guess, response like to the material? What was your kind of like reception to putting that music out there? Like, were you nervous? Were you apprehensive? I mean, you've been kind of sitting on this stuff for a while.
Yeah.
You've been pulling together the team for a while.
Yeah.
It must have been slightly nerve-wracking to finally like get to the edge of the ledge and be like, no, I'm jumping off now. Like, we've got it together.
Sorta. It was kind of a, let's plan this out. Let's try and release it. Let's have like somewhat of a splash when we first released music. It was the best as we could. We couldn't afford to do a music video and stuff at the time, and we'd recorded the stuff prior to Johnny and everything. So it was like, and we had done all the back end of getting the videos and stuff. Like, we can't do it without a drummer. So we did like it was like not a lyric video. It's like a visualizer type.
Yeah, I think it was for Modern Humans, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that. And then what we did like
another like cheap visualizer for the Complex. But the feeling was very much just like, all right, let's just get it out there. But we were already so deep into writing You Exist by the time that came out, and we were already really, really aware of the sonic difference between the two. Xavier's influence directly onto You Exist, coming from like let's just make this really abrasive, really heavy, got, I think, all of us into the mood of like, let's get this stuff out.
Yeah.
It's just music. See if we can get some shows, see if we can get some, a little bit of traction, and then let's kick on with the You Exist stuff. Like, let's start campaigning that a lot harder, or start moving into that and do that as real as we can, because we were already over those songs before they even came out. It was a little anticlimactic, I think, in terms of
isn't it always when you release music?
Like,
every band I've interviewed for this pod will always be like, by the time shit comes out, I'm already on that new shit.
Yeah,
I'm already like more vibing the stuff that I'm working on,
yeah.
or the stuff that's about to come out. Like, it's just kind of the nature of the beast. Like, by the time people actually hear it, you've already sat with that stuff for God knows how long.
Yeah.
You're already thinking of the next thing. So I think anticlimax just is part of the game, really.
Yeah, for sure. And like, you know, then you think, you have a really good day listening to the music and you're like, this is amazing. People are going to love it. And then it's like, every now and then you've got to check yourself and be like, we are a brand new band. Like, even if people love this, it's not going to reach the amount of people that you hope it will. It's going to be a lot less unless you hit some weird viral thing or whatever, which, I mean, in a way it just kept everything very real for us. It was not like we didn't have some like viral takeoff or anything. It was just like, oh, another local band. And it was like, cool, now let's prove ourselves, you know? So
it's kind of good. Like, it was real for us. Like, we kind of just saw, like, we sat back and we thought, oh, okay, like, it's out. You know, people are listening to it and whatnot and, you know, sharing it around. And then the most exciting part would just be, like, coming to play, like, our first few shows and, like, seeing that 100%. Sort of response.
I wanted to kind of touch on that. So we've been focusing on, like, I guess kind of like the writing, the demoing, recording, but what was the first show like? And particularly, like, were there shows before Johnny joined, or
no?
Okay, so what's the first show and what was the vibe?
Okay,
it was. We opened for Banks Arcade.
Okay,
yeah,
bit of a different vibe.
Very different vibe. They're awesome dudes.
I saw them play the Forum as like opening for North Lane. I think.
Oh, not
North Lane with Error and Landmarks. That band from Europe. Yeah. So I mean, like, that's the only stage I've ever seen them on, is like opening the Forum. So like, different vibe.
Yeah, no, they're cool dudes, and like they're, you know, it's so like really just sweet and
very well-rounded band. Like, really good band.
Super tight, fun to watch,
but different sound for sure. And like that was something that I think we all kind of knew going into the first few shows. Sorry, was like, people are going to be judging us and booking us off of the 2-track. And we've got an entire EP of music that is entirely different. Yeah. So that was kind of fun because we were getting booked on the first few shows, and I think maybe they were like, oh yeah, this band's going to come out and they'll be like opener vibe, sort of bit lighter, and then we'll get, you know, progressively heavier through the show or whatever and get a bit, you know, and we came out and it was just relentless from the first second, and they were like, what, is this the same band that we booked?
That's kind of cool. I like that. Little kind of bait and switch.
Yeah, it was a full bait and switch, and I think that turned a lot of people onto us early, because they were just like, holy shit, like what, you guys are nothing like your Spotify. And that was the funnest thing about it, I think.
Yeah. I think that's what kind of like hooked like a few people onto it a little bit. Like noticing that it's not just Modern Humans and Complex. Like there's a bit more.
I mean, those are great songs, but I think the stuff on the EP is definitely a lot more, I guess, kind of like in your face with the aggression, a bit more of a just like straight up pissed vibe. Whereas like the 2 tracks are kind of still heavy, but a little bit more experimental. There's like some synthy stuff going on there. Like it's not as like forcefully aggressive. Particularly like the jump from like listening to Complex and then going straight into the EP and listening to Unwavered is like the first song is like, oh, okay.
Even like lyrical content wise, going from something that is like, you know, like an astral concept of like, you know, something that we were trying to tap deeper in with like trying to do art, you know, like, and then to just come straight out and straight into like
a mosh song,
that's just like, you know, ACAB, like from the second.
And look, like you can have both. There's a place for both things, and you can be the band that plays both, but one definitely hits a different way to the other.
And I think
couldn't
like,
agree more.
the more melodic stuff that's on the EP is still done in a different tone. It's not like sad, it's more like moody, like somber, I guess, maybe, if that's the right word. Like it's when it does get emotional, it feels ambiently emotional and like, I'm not sure what the right word is for it, but as opposed to like on the 2-track where it's like, it feels soft. This still feels hard, but it feels like, you know, I don't know how to word it
No,
right.
I kind of know what you're talking about, Alex, because like I had notes here for listening to 874, which is the first track I heard from you guys because I missed the 2 songs last year. Apologies. So like we featured you guys on the show on one of the roundup episodes, and 874 was like the first thing that I heard, and I was like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Where's this band come from?
Yeah.
What the fuck? And for like a 2-minute song, it's like pretty relentless and hard the whole way through. But there is this like haunting kind of like lead undercurrent that kind of like bubbles all the way through, just like the relentless kind of groove of it, which I like. I like a little bit of contrast, a little bit of spooky contrast going on in there. Like that's sick. So I get what you mean. Like the melodic stuff isn't poppy melodic. It's like dark and
so, it's like
moody kind
dark
of stuff.
And like, I guess more brooding than something that's, I guess, like it emo or like sad, you know?
Totally.
Yeah, that's
fits the vibe way more. Like, couldn't go into like a Blink chorus or something like that. It's too weird.
Yeah.
Let's talk then about the EP. So you're coming off the 2-track.
Yep.
How do you get the Greyscale connection? And does that come about before or after you've got the EP kind of ready?
So the Greyscale connection was like whenever Lockie was not on tour, we would always catch up, get like burritos or something like that, whatever. And every time he'd be like, "What are you working on?" And then I'd just put him in demo jail every time. And
demo jail, I love that.
And when I showed him the stuff off the EP, because at the time it was an album, there was like 8 or 9 tracks or something.
Right.
And he was just like, "Holy shit! Like, can I show this to the crew of Greyscale?" And I was like, "Show whoever you want. Like, we don't really care.
I'm not gonna say no."
Yeah, not gonna say no. Like. And he sort of, I guess he did. He told me straight off, he was like, "The other guys in the band didn't like your first 2 singles, like they sucked." And I was like, yeah, word. There was like no offense taken. I was like, "Yeah, no, we don't like him either." Right? But yeah, I guess it got around to them, and obviously we're there on Greyscale, so that helps. And then when we were doing 874. We did the music video for that, and it was like, I think because we did the whole thing, it was all self-produced, self-mixed, self-mastered. We were able to fire things off to people a lot easier because it was all just coming from my laptop. And when we did the first music video, we were like, all right, we have this cool thing. We have this music video that's really good. It's got the whole band in it. Song rips. Everyone seems to like it that we're showing. How do we not fuck this up?
Yeah, how do we put this up and no one watches it or listens to it?
Exactly. Like that's like the biggest fear when you're actually dropping like real money into a video or something like that. And we were trying to like balance it out, like, "Oh, we've recorded it ourselves, it's all free, whatever," but it's not. It never is.
It sounds huge. Like for a self-produced thing, it sounds massive. I was actually doing notes for this and I was like, I wonder if they went back to Chris. I was like, I wonder if they went to someone else. I was like, normally that's in the press packet, but it's not. I was like, maybe they did it themselves. I don't know, but it sounds huge.
Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, I hit up Sabian and I was just like, "You're in a big band, like, and
you've done albums before."
Yeah, and like you're an approachable dude. Like I've known Sabian for years and years. So I was just like, how do I do this and not stuff it up? And he's the nicest guy in the world. And he was just like, "Send it through to me. I want to hear it." And I sent it through and he was just like, "This is fucking crazy, dude. Like, you got to do more with this than just drop this yourself. Like, let me show like GSR and all of that." And I was like, "Go for it, man. Like, can you just help us get this out?" Like, and he did. He helped us with like on the backside, just with like maybe post this on this day, post this on this day, sort of thing. We dropped 874. It did way better than any of us thought it would. Out the gate, it was like, whoa, people started going like, okay, this band's like they've changed their sound up a little bit, and they're not like they're taking it a bit more seriously. Yeah. And then the Greyscale thing came after that, sort of between 874 and Into the Suffer.
Yeah, like we released 874, then I think would have been like a few weeks after that, maybe.
Yeah, sort of like right at the tail end of the year.
Yeah.
Then they set up a meeting.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, I think the Greyscale connection is a natural fit. And once I saw kind of like the presentation of the band, the music itself, and then kind of seeing that it's part of the Greyscale roster, I was like, yep, all makes sense. Yeah. Like perfect kind of fit. And I kind of like to think that I follow this stuff fairly closely. So it was kind of sick to see a band kind of come out of nowhere. And I know it wasn't nowhere because you put some songs up previously, but like those had missed me. So like I was just like, oh, there's a new band from Melbourne and never heard of them. Haven't seen them on any lineups or anything. So like, who the fuck are they? Where did they come from? And that's a kind of cool thing to find. Like everyone likes to find that new band. Everyone likes to find that new thing and be the cool guy. Be the cool guy. That's like, hey, I listened to them first. I was at the first show. So like having that kind of built into it, I think is kind of cool to kind of get you guys out to people who hadn't fucked with you before.
Yeah, for sure.
And being on Greyscale is definitely going to help push you out to that audience.
Definitely. Yeah.
In terms of the material on the EP, we've kind of touched on it in different ways, but I wanted to be a little bit more explicit about it. So like that change in sound, I don't think it's too abrupt. I don't think it's too much of like a left turn or anything. Like it still makes sense in continuity, but I feel like it's a little bit more refined and a little bit more dialed in. So what do you guys think about that change in sound, and what was it like for you kind of going through it? What were the discussions that you were having? What did you guys kind of say collectively to write that stuff?
It was just being on the same subject as just wanting to just be heavier and more aggressive, and just wanted to not be like pigeonholed as just like this next metalcore band. Sure. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like we kind of wanted to see the crowd move. Yeah. In a way. That was a big I think that was like what we were talking about heaps, and we still talk about it when we're like writing these new songs. Like, well, we want to do a section here where like, you know, this happens, and it's kind of just like thinking about how the crowd is going to respond. Right. Yeah. Instead of connecting emotionally. Yep. You know what I mean?
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I feel like, at least I can tell as a listener, that like the material on the new EP is written in such a way that I think is really like designed to induce movement and to kind of get people pumped up. And more of like a live consideration than like studio bells and whistles and stuff.
I think, I reckon a lot of that was we kind of unapologetically tapped our influences on the EP. We were like there's some stuff that's pretty on the nose where it's like, this is, you know, like anyone that knows me knows that I love Crowbar more than like any band in the entire. We cover Crowbar live and stuff like that. Like
sick.
And I was like, well, let's do some sludgy stuff. I like Electric Wizard, so I was like, let's do some, you know, doomy, like stoner type stuff. Let's do, you know, we're trying so hard to not borrow from our contemporaries, and that's something that I think we hold pretty close to ourselves, is like steal from old bands. Like, not like, because back then, I like to think a lot of the bands that I used to grow up listening to, and Johnny's right into older metal as well, they wrote all their stuff just probably in a room together, or at least they tried it in a room. They didn't have computers to work on. And it's incredible how heavy a song can sound on a computer and how badly it can translate live. Whereas I think if you're just borrowing ideas from older bands and you're borrowing like play styles from older bands, you know that they probably fleshed a lot of that stuff out in person.
Right, yeah.
And then they played it and they go, this is hard as shit. You know, like, and then you do that. You can do it in a studio. You don't need to do that in person, but you can still borrow from those play styles. And then when you do translate it into a live environment, it works a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think that was something, just wearing those influences on your sleeve, I think.
Yeah. I think like the cool thing about like, you know, all those older bands, I want to say like Slipknot's first album, like that is a huge inspiration on me, like drumming wise, and even just metal as well, like that.
Joey's like the god.
Yeah, like but even as a band, like they were just so dialed in with each other when they were writing those songs. Like they mix the songs together, they, you know, everything like that.
And it's incredibly pissed. Like one of the most aggressive, pissed off records ever made.
It's definitely like one of my favorite albums of all time. Yeah, like I would like hope to just like, you know, do that someday. It's just so fucking cool. But yeah.
To talk about Slipknot for a little bit, like in many ways, like they kind of embody a similar type of thing to what you guys are talking about, which is like, you know, they came up in the nu metal boom or whatever, but like they're one of those bands that kind of like managed to transcend it in a way. And it almost feels like a little bit of a disservice to call what they do nu metal, because it's like, it's more just like straight up metal or like aggressive type stuff. And like, even on later records, like they flirted with a little bit of like metalcore sort of stuff and then like all sorts of different shit. But like, they are a band that like kind of refused to be pigeonholed because they were pulling from so much different stuff. And when you kind of like bake it down to its essence, like it's heavy and it's aggressive. Yeah. That's about it. And like you guys are kind of operating under that same kind of principle, right?
That's what I was going to touch on. Like, I feel like that's kind of what we're trying to do right now. Like,
and it's not to say that you sound like Slipknot. You don't. But it's like, but it's the same ethos, right? It's the same kind of motivation.
Ethos, it's kind just like what they did. And, you know, I'd love to just, you know, keep doing what we're doing, but, you know, better and better each time. And, you know, just stay away from, you know, just getting pigeonholed. And that's the goal, I guess.
For sure. Like, I don't think we're ever going to be able to escape the metalcore umbrella. Like that's going to be there forever, and that's fine. But you can absolutely do so many more things with that, you know, that genre of music than what I think a lot of people do.
I completely agree. I'm a huge metalcore guy, so like I would definitely agree that like it's one of those things that's been around, I think, for a lot longer than people realize. It's like at least 3 decades deep at this point. And like you can listen to a band like Disembodied, that's metalcore. Listen to a band like As I Lay Dying, that's metalcore. You can listen to fucking Sleep Token, kind of metalcore. And it's all kind of in the same zone, but it's doing different things.
I mean, like that's like comparing, you know, like an Earth Crisis record to like Sempiternal by New Horizon. And you're like, these are just entirely different, but
kind of still like working with the same kind of elements in just a different way. So like, I think you can definitely sit under the umbrella and still have lots of room to move. Lots of room to do your own thing.
I think the Greyscale signing as well is like, you always, like even bands like Melancholy are like they're like black and deathcore sort of, but it's still, for whatever reason, I think like kind of falls under this a vibe of like metalcore. I don't know if it's like a label presence or something like that, but you just, or it could be because, you know, like the blackened elements of it, they don't hold fast to like black metal. It's like it's polished up, you know what I mean? The same thing with us. Like we're doing,
I mean, there's a little bit of that in Guided. There's a little bit of black metal influence in there.
For sure.
Some frosty riffs, a couple little blast beats in there, Johnny.
There's actually the blast beat riff in that song is deliberately tracked with only one guitar straight down the middle, because I was like, that's what they used to do. Like it was just, there was no stereo guitars back then. It was just like one guitar straight up the guts. So that's how we recorded it, because we were like, that's how we wanted to
I was listening to the EP stream and I was like doing notes and doing other shit. And that song came on, and particularly like the end bit with all the like the blast and the black metal sort of stuff. And I was like, it's a bit different. And I like flicked back to the stream and I saw the title of the song, like Guided by, what is it?
Guided by Hand of Witch and Corvid.
And I was like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. I was like, sick.
They got the name actually from reading I can't remember what the book was called, but I was reading this cool book about this guy who was going on this mad adventure, and he was being guided by this witch lady, and she had this pendant thing on her chest, I'm pretty sure, that would expel a giant crow with like knives on its feet or whatever. And I was like, that's so sick.
That's pretty sick.
Absolutely.
Very morbid eggers. That can definitely be like a fucking dream sequence in one of his films. So yeah, that's sick. I guess like we can kind of wrap things up a little bit now with what you have coming up. So the EP, You Exist Because We Allow It. Great title, by the way.
Thank you.
Where does that come from? Just lyrics or?
No, well, we did have like a little intro track that had that as like a whisper or whatever, but the name was there before the band was even called. It was just like, I have this fascination with like the first record that a band does having something to do with like, you know, like Alpha Wolf has like origin or whatever. Like it has to have something to do with like the start, like a Genesis or whatever. And I like the whole like you exist thing. And I was like, it's tough to say you exist. Like you exist because we allow it. Like the band only exists because we all work together on this thing. Like it's not that deep, but it is just like a cool name. But like,
it sounds hard as fuck. So like that's kind of what I latched onto. But I like the symbolism behind it.
Yeah,
that's
there's like a little
also
bit in
kind
there
of
floating around in there somewhere.
Oh, and before I get caught up in the touring stuff, the album artwork, super fucking dope.
Nuts, eh?
What's the story behind that?
Dude called Rotting Rain.
I wondered if it was Rotting Rain.
Yeah.
He also did the Crossface.
Yes.
One,
Yeah, he did.
And they look very similar.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that the same guy?
Yeah. He's got a style for sure.
For sure.
We've discovered that lately. We're just like, anytime we see another band, we're like, damn. Like, but it's cool because it's identifiable.
Well, there was that guy. I'm gonna butcher his name. He's like a Polish guy. He's done all the Malevolence covers. He did the Hatebreed one. He's done a bunch of them. The very like watercolor style stuff. He was doing like every metal album cover for like a couple of years. Like he did Die Art, did Hate Eternal, did Malevolence, did Hatebreed, like all of the like big bands, and like a lot of Nuclear Blast bands were like using the same guy, and like it kind of just happens. Like you get onto like a sick pocket and everyone's like, I want some of that. I want some of that.
Do you remember Scotty Bates?
Yes.
Scotty Bates art, and like every band had Scotty Bates art for like 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Rotting Rain's doing something good because everyone wants that art.
He's a legend.
It's dope.
It was a funny story getting it. Like it was a long back and forth, like really, really long. They had some stuff going on, and it was like we were just like, are we ever gonna get this artwork? And then we finally did, and like they're just the nicest artists to work with. They're super, super kind and friendly, and they're great. Nothing but good things to say about them. Once we got the art back, and it was like, all right, we found out a little bit more of the backstory of why it took so long and everything like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, artwork's sick.
Yeah, it looks fucking sick. So You Exist Because We Allow It drops on May 2nd through Greyscale. So at the start of next month. And then we kind of touched on this a little bit, I think off mic, but you recently wrapped up some support shows with Thornhill. I think you did, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane?
Yep.
What was that like, kind of getting on the road with Thorny, playing EP stuff for people? What's the reception been like?
It was really good, surprisingly. You know, like we were kind of worried about playing to a bunch of Thornhill fans because like we thought,
again, a different vibe.
Very different vibe. The Thorny dudes was so chill, and
that new record rocks.
Yeah, dude, I've been listening to it flat out. They've really hit the
talk about
nail.
Grooves. The whole fucking thing is a groove. Jesus.
Yeah. But playing our music to a bunch of like those fans, like they got around it really well, and I feel like they
received it.
They received it really well,
and sold a lot of shirts and stuff like that. A lot of people saying, you know, like it was good to see something a lot harder on the show, and like that's not to take anything away from Signals are the hardest band. Like they're so sick.
Yeah, they ripped.
But yeah, people liked us. Like that was was good. I think that was a really cool sense of validation's a weird word to use and to throw around, but it was very like, okay, we're seeing the fruits of our labor a little bit, and it's good to know that.
Yeah. Was that your first time playing Brisbane?
Yep.
For me, it was, yeah.
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 I was thinking this whole time, like, it can either be really good or like really bad. Like, people are gonna boo us, like you guys suck, you know. But like, no, it was cool. Like, people were, you know, bopping to it. So
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
It was interesting doing the Melbourne one first, because we were like, it kind of takes a little bit of the edge off when you play your home city first, because you're just like, it's hard to gauge if people are going to love it or not, because people that do like your band prior are going to be there because everyone loves Thornhill. So you're like, maybe it's just them that are moving. Like, we can't really know until we go interstate and try it.
Unknown territory. Yeah.
And then to see the response that we had in other states be like equal or better than what we got in Melbourne was nuts.
Yeah, it was insane.
Come off stage every night just elated, which was really, really cool.
Yeah, sick. And then you've got another support run for Alpha Wolf with Malevolence, and that's at the end of next month. And you're doing Victoria and Tassie as well. First time playing Tassie.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be sick.
It's going to be like another situation, I feel. Like getting that validation from the crowd. But I think if we just, you know, stick to our guns and just do what we normally do best, and who gives a shit.
Well, it's almost like now, having seen the way that like the Thorny fans reacted, and like they loved it because it was like, you know, a bit of a harder sound on the Thorny run. Now it's like you going up like Alpha for a heavy band, Malevolence, heavy band, Zuko's a heavy band. It's like, all right, now we've actually got to roll with people that are doing similar sort of stuff to us. Let's see how people receive it there.
It's a different kind of stress test, right? Like, rather than being like maybe the heaviest band on the bill, you're like one of four. So you're like, how do we differentiate ourselves?
Exactly.
How do we still come off as
you can't play the contrast card?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
with the Victorian dates too, like they're like regional shows, right?
Yep.
So playing a couple of spots that you probably haven't played before.
Yeah, I haven't played any of them before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sick.
So
I've played the Volta room in Ballarat.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
are we doing Volta with Alpha?
Yeah, I think we are.
It might be with Daya.
That one, I think.
No, that's
Daya.
Daya. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that one in a sec. But you played that room before, Johnny?
I have played that room.
Okay.
It's fun. It's definitely a vibe.
I imagine a lot of these are going to be like fairly small rooms, kind of like.
Volta wasn't small.
Okay.
It was kind of like,
It's like 400, isn't it?
yeah,
It's like Stay Gold. Like
Stay Gold
Oh, that's decent.
kind of vibes. Yeah.
I think the Nari Warren show was like 800.
Okay.
Plus 850, 800, 850, something like that.
Yeah, that's solid.
That's probably going to be the biggest show.
Yeah, I think that one's
Yeah.
the biggest. Yeah, I think the ones in Tassie are pretty small. And I was in Warrnambool last weekend over Easter, and I saw the Whalers, and that's just like sort of the corner, I guess, maybe a little bit smaller than the corner. Yeah, so
I don't know. I just think it's sick that so many of these bands are really putting in the effort to get on these regional circuits and to do these regional tours.
it's great.
And I think it really does pay dividends, because like you can just play the capitals only and like kind of pigeonhole yourself, I guess, into like a particular pocket or scene. But like when you go to those regional cities, those regional towns, like the people there, like they fucking love it. And they love seeing heavy shit roll through, because it doesn't happen all the time. So usually the shows are a bit wilder, a bit crazier, probably a bit more, a bit fun. So
that's what we were thinking about, like heading to Brisbane to do shows with Thornhill. It was like, well, Brisbane and Sydney and, you know, all those other like surrounding states, like they don't really get as much of like a music scene as what we do here in Melbourne. So like,
Melbourne's really small.
Melbourne is like so strong with like the music scene at the moment.
I grew up in Queensland and lived in Queensland for a very long time. So like, you're 100% correct.
Yeah. So like, I think we kind of had that as like a, you know, an advantage, I feel. So like, I think,
Yeah, I think it's doing the regional stuff is great though. Like,
Yeah.
You're going to, show your music to a lot of people that wouldn't get to see it otherwise.
Yeah.
Like, even just today, like after announcing the Art run, getting people messaging us, just being like, you guys are coming back to Warrnambool twice in 1 year. I didn't think I'd get to see you guys once in 3 years, and I'll see you, twice in 2 months.
Yeah. And like, that's sick. Like, if you're in a small town and you and your mates are kind of like the only people that fuck with, this kind of heavy music, like, that's fucking 2 Christmases for you in 1 year. Like, you guys get to go and rage and have a fucking fun time. And those are the people who come out and buy records and buy merch.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they're the reason why we play music.
Yeah, that's
it.
Yeah, that's it. You do the capitals, and you realize that people really are, especially in Melbourne, so spoiled for choice. That if hopefully when we go out and we do some regional stuff, we get to see the other side of it, where there's like, I don't know. I remember being super grateful to see bands when I was younger, like especially back when AA was still like really, really prominent, and I was underage. You'd see your favorite bands, and I guess
it's become a lot harder to do now.
I kind of feel like Metropolitan AA gets the same treatment as regional, like 18 plus. So when I was a kid and I got to see bands that I loved and I was able to, it fucking ruled. So when I get to go out and play regional shows, and they probably have a similar feeling, and that's exciting.
Told this anecdote on the pod before, but it was a long time ago and I don't remember when, so fuck it, I'll tell it again. But I used to work at this venue in Brisbane, and they would book it's like 2007, 2008, and they would book the licensed all ages show, or the AA show and then the 18 plus show for the same day. So they would do like the Arvo show was like for the kids, and then they do the 18 plus show at night. Same bands.
Cool. Okay.
So like 2 shows back to back.
Whoa.
And the AA show on this particular day was Unearth, Walls of Jericho, and Mind Snare.
Sick.
Whoa.
And then they did the 18 plus show, and it was a huge venue, like, I don't know, multiple hundreds kind of venue, and they sold maybe 10 AA tickets.
Oof.
So like, it was rough.
Yeah.
And there was only like a handful of kids there, but the bands were just kind of like, oh well, fuck it, and they basically just used it as like a practice almost. So like, I was barely 18, and I got to like see Mind Snare play to like an empty room, but all the dudes in Walls of Jericho and Unearth just like fucking frothing on it because it's Mind Snare. How could you not? Like, one of Australia's best heavy bands. Like, sick. And then Walls of Jericho ripped, Unearth ripped, and it was basically just all bands, crew, and like a couple of kids just all like moshing and having fun and being silly because it's like a gigantic empty room. And I always just remember that as being like, even if there's no one there, you can still have a fucking sick show. Just fucking rip into it.
It's so fun to like seeing, like, it's almost like seeing a younger version of yourself at a show.
100%.
Like, and now it's like we're doing the show.
You got to pay it forward.
And it's just like, like it's a full circle moment sort of thing.
So the Thy Art run, just quickly, is with Melancholia. It's kind of cool. You get to reunite with old mate. Billy, yes. Have you guys played shows together in these new bands?
No.
That's kind of sick.
It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And Hate Complex. And that's in July, and those are just like Victoria dates. I don't think you guys are doing the Tassie ones on that run.
No.
But I guess between that, you've got the EP, you got the Alpha Wolf stuff, then you got the Thy Art stuff. Are you going to do some headline shows? You going to do some EP launch shows? You got June just kind of sitting in there. So
I think June's just going to sit there. I've got another band I play in, and it's like doing both is really
what's the other band?
Death Tax.
Oh shit! Okay, I see. Reppin'. Yeah, we had the Fever Shack boys in a couple months ago.
Doze is in that band.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, so
that EP fucking rules.
Yeah, thank you.
It's so fucking good.
It's nuts. I didn't do anything on that record, so I get to just be a fan of my own band. Not to make this a DT podcast, but that Death Tax fucking rocks.
It's like one of my favorite records that's come out this year. It's so fucking good.
Hell yeah.
Melbourne Bolt Down is so fucking dope.
Just waiting for a cease and desist. They're busy through June, and it'd be good to just chill out. But I think we're going to go back up the East Coast. I think it sort of wraps around kind of the Thy Art time. We go back up.
I think it does,
That's not announced yet.
Okay.
Apart from that. And then we were going to do maybe like an EP headliner in Melbourne.
Sick.
Because after all of this, we will have not have played Melbourne since March.
So all those regional shows. That's kind of wild.
Yeah. So we were like,
make them work for it.
Yeah. So like, we should probably do one.
Yeah.
And if we do, we'll just book a really fucking small room with some friends.
Just pack it out.
Just pack it out. If we can, please come.
No, I'm sure you will.
Please come. Please buy merch.
Yeah. And that'd be a sick way to sort of like get into the real tail end of the year. And then I think we'll probably just start looking forward towards the next thing. We kind of want to stay pretty prolific with it all, because we're still at a point, like, we're not at a point where the band's going to put something out and hit some viral thing that's got like staying power. Like, we're still hungry. We just got to keep putting music out.
Yeah, momentum is important to just kind of keep chipping away at it.
Yeah.
You kind of alluded to new material already in the works.
Yeah.
What's your feeling on the stuff you guys are working on at the moment?
I like it.
I love it. It's oh shit.
It's just taking the same thing that we've got on You Exist and just pushing it 10 times harder.
It's just that's what I was gonna say. It's just that on steroids.
Yeah.
like not too stupid.
Yeah, it's not. There's definitely still music in there. Like, but a lot of it is going like, oh, I think we will be able to get away with this thing that we tried on You Exist. Maybe we can strip it back more and more and more. I think a big part of, not to talk too much about the next record, but we definitely went into it going like, all right, we've got this sphere of this laptop that we don't like when we play live, and we've got all these tracks that we depend on, especially with songs like Guided and Perhaps This Is Hell. They're really like sample heavy.
Yeah.
How can we just strip this back so that if everything goes wrong,
nothing
changes? And that is exactly where we're at. And it's just, it makes everything relentless and it's a lot faster, a lot more
I think
intense.
that's kind of sick, because like there's nothing wrong with playing with like tracks and like production elements and stuff. And like you can definitely vibe a show that has all of those bells and whistles and production elements just as much as like a raw DIY like punk show or whatever.
Yeah.
But like to be able to take the same level of heaviness and aggression and then be able to pull it off in that mode is like, that's kind of key.
Well, that's it. That's, I guess, not to drag this on, but it's similar to what we were touching on before about how we're never going to be able to escape that metalcore umbrella. So it's like, if we can just be the most relentless metalcore band that we can and just be like, let's just be really heavy. Let's write songs that are just like you were saying earlier, like there's certain music that is just like about Slipknot. It's not new metal. It's some of the stuff is just metal.
Yeah.
And it just gets thrown into that category, probably unjustifiably, but it's there whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
There is definitely elements on the next record that's like, this is not even close to contemporary metalcore. Like it's just unapologetically stealing from bands like Exhorder and stuff like that. And it's like, we'll still get called metalcore and that's fine because we are, but we get to do it in our own way.
Look, if it helps get people to the shows and then you get to just play whatever you want.
Yeah. Like if you're going to play those kinds of riffs, but you're still got a click going in your ear, you're just going to be the tightest one of those bands that plays those kinds of riffs.
Exactly.
That's sick. Like,
Fuck yeah, I'm excited. I think we might wrap things up there.
Yeah.
We'll get into a little bit of Patreon stuff before I let you guys go. But just wanted to say, Alex, Johnny, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
No worries. Cheers.